Clutch Sports Talk. Let's go.
Good morning. What's up, everyone? It's me, your boy Ryan Flowers, aka Clutch Sports Talk, back in the house for NFL Sunday Wake Up. It's week 11 around the National Football League. Like I always say, each and every week, the season's just rolling by, man, with Turkey Day fastly approaching with this upcoming Thursday, man. As usual, we have a lot to get into. So if you haven't listened to the show before, please, if you haven't, it's your first time and you're on YouTube watching live on the Grid Network or my Clutch Sports Talk podcast YouTube channel, make sure you please subscribe right now, man. We are really appreciate it. So, but as usual, man, we're going to be breaking down a couple things today. We're going to be talking about my week 11 power rankings, some major shifts, major things happening in the power rankings there. And then we're going to break down each and every game up until from the Sunday night to the Monday night game, for the early morning all the way through basically the whole week 11, right? We're going to talk about every game there. And then we're going to go over my clutch picks of the week. So you don't want to miss out. So listen, sit back, pull up a chair, enjoy the show. This is Clutch Sports Talk, NFL Sunday Wake Up with me, Ryan Flowers. Let's go. Good morning, one and all. Hope you guys are doing all right, man. Like I said before, if you haven't listened to my show before, please, you will be entertained. I hope you are entertained, right? But hey, like I said, man, hey, happy good morning to everyone there out there watching. If you're in the live right now and you want to drop a comment, please make sure you do so now. Also, like, share, and subscribe as you're watching and listening to the show as we speak. So week 11's here, y'all. I mean, a lot of news and injuries around the NFL. I mean, let's just start with a little bit with the injuries, right? You got Joe Burrow suffered an injury Thursday night. He's out for the year, torn ligament. Then you got Mark Andrews. He's out for the Baltimore Ravens, which we'll talk about here in just a second. Just another slate of injuries to key contributing players for an NFL team. So, and you know, the AFC North just got hit. You know, double whammy, right? Deshaun Watson's out for the rest of the year. He's having elective surgery on his shoulder. And now, you know, they were kind of in the middle of it all. And now they're just kind of like, well, do we get it right with the quarterback? Is he worth the money right now? He doesn't look like it because he's not on the field a lot, right? So a lot of things going on in the Bengals, right? You know, I won't even talk about my power ranking, but it's pretty much over for them. To be honest with you, it's pretty much a done deal for the Cincinnati Bengals. And the Ravens, what about them now? Mark Andrews is a very, very key cog in that machine we call the Baltimore Ravens. So with him being out, that's what Lamar Jackson's favorite. Well, I wouldn't say favorite this year, but I would say like a safety blanket. He's out for the rest of the year. So a lot of weight being put on his shoulders, but he's still playing phenomenal. Hey, they've proven me wrong, yes, so far. So he stayed healthy. At least he has. Zay Flowers has been a dude, so we'll have to wait and see. But we still got a long road ahead until the playoffs. But right now they're looking pretty strong. So, all right, without further ado, let's just go straight into the power rankings for Week 11. All right, with that, you know, pretty solid win on the on Thursday night, right? Thursday night against the Bengals. I still got the Ravens at number one. Now that loss of Mark Andrews can be pretty big, and that's always the thing with this team is injuries, right? But we'll have to wait and see with them. But you know, they lost to the Browns the week before, and then they come back. Was it at home, I believe, and beat the Bengals. But Lamar Jackson still has his team looking like a title contender. So they're one of the best teams in the AFC. But we'll see though how that injury will play out for the Baltimore Ravens. Okay, coming in at number 2, the Philadelphia Eagles. You know, they were on bye last week after they beat the Cowboys. A game they probably should have lost, right? But they just kind of got away just a little bit. But hey, still, a win is a win in the National Football League. Still wondering about this team, right? And there's a lot of questions about them. They're 8-1, so like, I mean, people are asking, well, why is so many questions? They're 8-1, they're winning, but it's the way they're winning, and they're not the only team that's winning like this too. Like, you know, there are other teams in this power ranking that that win kind of similar to the Philadelphia Eagles. They just find a way to overcome and win these games. So whether their defense is not good for one game or vice versa, their offense isn't hitting on all cylinders, they still find ways to win these games. And Jalen Hurts is having he's having a pretty decent year, right? Excuse me. So but I will say this: the bye week came just in time for them, right? Because I know Jalen Hurts was battling a left knee injury, so he's gotten that rest. But their next 5 games is going to be a pretty tough stretch, right? Buffalo, I mean, if I'm talking my head, I think they got Buffalo, they got the Niners, and then they got Dallas and Seattle. It depends on how you look at it. It may be tough. I think Dallas will be tough again. Of course, the Niners are going to give them their best shot. Buffalo, I don't know about them anymore so much, so we'll have to wait and see with them. But I got the Philadelphia Eagles coming in at number 2. And at number 3, I got the defending champs, the Kansas City Chiefs. Look, they're literally around the same spot every year around this time. They're not like overachieving. They're just kind of right where they need to be. But Patrick Mahomes not having like the kind of the year that we would expect him to have. But it doesn't matter because when they get into the playoffs, because it's not if, it's when, that's when we see the magic. So the good thing for them, though, if they're still trying to lock up that number 1 overall seed in the AFC, is that the Baltimore Ravens lost. That was a big one. So that kind of helps them out there a little bit there. So, but look, this team, at the end of the day, it's going to be ran and driven by Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce, because they still do not have a legitimate number 1 wide receiver, and that still scares me a little bit. Not so much a ton, just because Patrick Mahomes is still just that dude, right? But we'll have to wait and see with the Chiefs. But I got them at number 3. Coming in at number 4, the Detroit Lions. 2 words for you when I think of the Detroit Lions: offensive line, right? This line, anchored by Penei Sewell, Frank, I forgot his name, Ragnow, Graham Glasgow, Taylor Decker, Jonah Jackson. The average fan do not know these players, right? They're like, who is this guy, right? When they think of the Detroit Lions, they probably think of Amon St. Brown, Jahmyr Gibbs recently. But those guys that I listed before, man, that's the offensive line of this team. They are driving this team literally to the top. They are running the ball so efficiently right now with David Montgomery and Jahmyr Gibbs, who's starting to come out of his shell now, and they have not allowed any sacks in 33 dropbacks recently. So that's a stat I'm just looking up right there. So this team really is looking really solid as they try to make that playoff. So I mean, look, Jared Goff, he's not. Is he a world beater at quarterback? No, but he's still really pretty good, right? Obviously, you saw them getting this shootout last week with the excuse me, the LA Chargers. They pulled that one off. I mean, I don't want to fully accept this team yet, because when it's time to really play a meaningful game, will they show up? They don't really have a meaningful game this week, right? They're playing the Bears at home. You should win that game, right? Then they got to turn around really quick and play Thanksgiving. But it's still a nice story, and I got them at number 4 right now. All right. Number 5, the bounce back 49ers. Literally they were like on life support, but they get Debo back. Trent Williams is back, and they go into Jacksonville and destroy the Jaguars, right? That was a meaningful game for them, especially, excuse me, on the road. Coming off of a 3-game losing streak, people still wavering about Brock Purdy. Here's the thing with Brock Purdy: like, he is not. He's perfect for what they do. Obviously, okay. He is not the type of player or quarterback that is gonna have to. He's gonna have to be. Well, excuse me. He's the type of guy that can come from behind like that. All right, they're gonna have to play with the lead or keep it really, really relatively close. Because if they play a Cowboys, a team that they can score, right, at some point, the Eagles, sometimes if they, especially I'm thinking about the playoffs time, right? Hell, even the Lions, if the Lions get going on offense, right? Can he come back down being down 14-0, 17-0, right? Brock Purdy can't, and they're not designed that way. They're not designed that way. The Niners are formulated on running the ball, being up ahead, and not allowing their quarterback to make really, really big plays because they don't need him to make really big plays. They just need him to not turn the ball over. So he is what he is. I mean, listen, he's a seventh round draft pick for a reason. Okay. He doesn't possess elite arms talent. Maybe his decision making is pretty good, right? Obviously, right? So, but we've seen like any other team, if you have guys that are hurt or you're missing some talent or elite type players, they're not going to function as well, right? And that's what Brock Purdy is. But the Niners, as long as they stay healthy, they always finish strong towards the end of the season. And I think this is just their time right now where they're catching their stride, getting past those injuries, getting past the three game losing streak. And so I have them at number 5 right now, and they can steadily move up. Okay. All right. Coming in at number 6, I got the Dallas Cowboys. Pretty pretty dominating performance last week, which they should have. I mean, the Giants literally had random people playing in this game last week. So my problem with Dallas is not that they can't win games. They can definitely win games, but can they beat the elite teams in the National Football League? Right. So far, just based off their schedule, now that I'm thinking off the top of my head, like they haven't really beaten anybody. I mean, those 6 wins are really against teams that are probably not gonna make the playoffs, right? Now, they got a decent stretch coming up, starting well, not even starting on Thanksgiving because they got the Washington Commanders, which can be a tough game. It's a divisional game, but really not so much, right? But, they're gonna have games against, Buffalo. They're gonna have to go, play these games in Miami, Seattle, so, it's a doable schedule. It's a doable schedule, but when they play those potentially playoff teams, can they get the win? Excuse me. Sorry about that. Had to sneeze there for a second. So, again, but one thing I will say, the CD Lamb, Dak Prescott connection looking pretty strong the last couple weeks. He's had over 130 yards in receptions the last 3 weeks. So, shout out to CD Lamb. He's starting to look like a true number one when people doubted him. Excuse man, this winter season, man, always gets my allergies going. But anyway, so but Dak is Dak in the MVP conversation? I don't know. I like Dak. Don't get me wrong. And I was just talking about this with someone the other day, and I was like, it's not that I hate Dak. I think it seems like a good guy. You want to root for him. His story is phenomenal. What he's had to overcome. His mother losing the battle of cancer. His brother committing suicide a couple years ago. He plays for probably the most prominent sports organization in all of sports, right? A lot of people know who the Cowboys are. So there's a lot of pressure on him, but listen, you should beat the Giants at home the way they did. All right. You should beat the Commanders next week. Hell, today they're on the road in Carolina. You should beat Carolina, right? So I'm not worried about that. It's when they play the Eagles. It's if when they get a chance to play when they had a chance to play the Niners in a statement game, right? How do they combat that? How do they go about doing so, winning those games? So that's my thing with them is that, when it's time to put up and shut up, they usually just shut the hell up. So that's my plight as a Cowboys fan. But anyway, all right, I digress. Moving on. I got the Miami Dolphins coming in at number 7. They're kind of like the Cowboys in a sense where look good playing against the shitty teams, but when it's time to play a team that's pretty formidable, where have you been? Right? They've lost their 2 or 3 matchups against top rated teams that are going to be making the playoffs. Tua and Tyreek look phenomenal still, but however, though, I mean, again, like the Cowboys, can you beat? I mean, you lost your matchup to the Eagles, right? That was Sunday night. Uh, you lost your matchup on the road to Buffalo, and not only did you lose that game, you got tossed, right? And now looking at what's going on with Buffalo, it's kind of like, I don't know, man. So, um, still a very talented team, but again, you gotta beat someone with some quality, and they have not done that yet so far. So they'll have a chance. They'll have the Bills again. They got the Cowboys on the schedule here shortly, so we'll have to wait and see. But fun team to watch, just like the Cowboys. All right, coming in at number 8, they have fallen considerably. Um, I kind of was there was some fool's goal with Jacksonville. I'm not saying they're a bad team. They're not. They got some pieces there, but you can't get stomped out at home like that, right? Now, the Niners did have a lot to prove, right? Because a lot of people are like, oh, well, Niners are done now. They're like, not so fast, right? As Lee Corso would say, they came into Duval County and beat the shit out of the Jacksonville Jaguars. And that's an understatement. I mean, that game was over within minutes of the first quarter. Like, you can tell that Jacksonville was not ready to play that day. And it showed. So, I mean, listen, they're in a division that they should wrap up. Well, maybe not so. I don't know, right? You got with the Texans, kind of exceeding expectations. They're ahead of schedule. Who knows? But they should. They should. Okay. You got a veteran quarterback. You got a veteran head coach. In a divisional that's totally winnable at this point, right? Texas can push you guys a little bit, but Jacksonville Jaguars, what happened, right? And then coming in at number 9, speaking of that same division, the Houston Texans, man, like shout out to them, dude. They're doing their thing over there. CJ Stroud definitely in the conversation for MVP as a rookie, right? As a rookie, I liked him coming out of college. Liked him more so than Bryce Jack. What's his name? I forgot his name already. Bryce Young. Um, he's looking all the bit of an NFL quarterback, the way he makes the throws, his decision making, his playmaking ability, which a lot of people did not like his playmaking ability, right? They were like, "Oh, Bryce Young's playmaker, he's more of a playmaker." Yeah, because you would see him run around a little bit more. But listen, the game that really put me on the CJ Stroud game was that college football playoff game against Georgia, right? Because that's the closest as far as talent wise in comparison to the NFL that he played against. And he did his thing. Honestly, Ohio State should have been playing for the national championship. If their kicker would have made his field goal, we would be probably talking about Ohio State winning that national championship last year over Georgia, right? But that game, and I know he had other games, similar to that, but that was the game because it was a marquee game. It was New Year's Eve. He played his tail off, and for me that was kind of like I had questions about him, but after that game I was like, oh, oh yeah, this guy's legit. And then on top of the Houston Texans, they surrounded himself with a mix of veteran and young talent, like Tank Dell. I was a big fan of him coming out of the University of Houston. You can go back into the archives, go to my TikTok. I did a clutch combine on him, and I was like, I like this guy, man. He's phenomenal. He's a stud. A little undersized. We'll see how that works out for him in his career. But listen, Tank Dell, Noah Brown, Nico Collins, the Cowboys' former tight end Dalton Schultz, like they're doing something, and their defense isn't that half bad either, right? So, and Devin Singletary isn't a game breaker, but he's still getting 30 carries, 150 yards, like so. They're doing a little bit. So I don't know if they're going to be able to sustain this because they're still a young team. And the thing with young teams is that they find ways to lose games and not win them. Now, last week was a great game, a come from behind win against Cincinnati in Cincinnati. So I'll give them credit for that. So, but shout out to them, man. I really like what the Texans are doing. And I was on them early, right? And then finally, I got the Pittsburgh Steelers. Now I bumped out Seattle. As you can see, I don't have the Bengals, and I don't even have the Bills anymore. The Bengals are pretty much done. Like you're down to your backup quarterback. The Bills might be able to sneak back in here and now and then with a couple wins here. But this week, I'm going to go with the Steelers. And I know some people might be wondering, like, why the Steelers? But listen, they're 6-3. They got an opportunity to go 7-3. Is it a little bit of fool's gold? Yeah, because their offense is still kind of shite, right? Obviously, but that defense is still phenomenal. And I like Mike Tomlin, even though he doesn't get a lot of credit as a head coach. His ability to still be a professional and maintain really has this team playing at a high level. Now, if they can just always get their offense figured out, man. Like since Big Ben has retired, that's been the question now. It's kind of like, and even towards the latter years of Big Ben's career, it's kind of like, what happened to the offense? Right? They used to have AB, Juju Smith-Schuster, right? You even go back before that, Mike Wallace. I mean, and you got guys. That's what I'm saying. You got Deontay Johnson, you got George Pickens. Get these guys the ball, man. Get these guys the ball. So we'll have to wait and see. But I got the Pittsburgh Steelers at number 10, man. I mean, and maybe I probably should have probably put Seattle in there. But they might flip flop. But that 10 spot is always kind of like a question mark for me because there's a couple teams but like I said, Cincinnati's got to be out of there. But other than that, Minnesota might be making a case, right? They're moving up steadily, right? They've won their last 4 or 5 in a row. Or they're 5 in a row, if I'm not mistaken. Big game tonight against Denver in Denver. So, but I think Pittsburgh can sustain it, and I think Seattle has a chance of sustaining it as well too. So we'll have to wait and see with that. So, all right, enough of that. Let's take a look at the previews for each of these games today. Going into, actually, take a look at some comments. Actually, I take that back. What's up, my boy Patrick? He says in reference to the Eagles when I started off the power ranking, he says Eagles have a daunting schedule on the horizon. Chiefs, Bills, Niners, Seahawks, Cowboys will be their make or break. If they can fly high and wrap up the number one seed, could be a couple losses as well. Right? No, he's absolutely right there. I see some losses in there. I think it starts soon, obviously. But you're definitely right. The Niners, yeah, I think they'll take care of the Bills, but that Niners game and the Cowboys game and the Chiefs game are going to be somewhat. The Seahawks game, I don't know where that game is, but if it's in the Northwest, maybe, right? But yeah, but definitely some formidable teams, right? As you said. All right. He says, Patrick, he says Stroud is that dude. Absolutely. Carolina got it wrong in taking Bryce Young. CJ Stroud is breaking the narrative in Ohio State. Quarterbacks can translate to NFL success. Absolutely. Because that's been the knock on Ohio State. Like, think about all the quarterbacks that have come out of there, highly touted, right? Dwayne Haskins, rest in peace. Troy Smith, Heisman winner. Justin Fields. I think the thing with Justin Fields is that he's just a product of the team that he's on, honestly. So he's got some talent, but maybe not the cerebral skills of CJ Stroud. He's got Texans. Texans have big wins over Jags, Steelers, and Bengals. It's true. These are all playoff teams from a year ago, if I'm not mistaken, right? With the maybe exception of the Steelers. I forgot how did they make the playoffs last year? I don't remember they did, but they were like in contention. So yeah, he's got some good point. Good point. All right. Sorry, 1 second. Another question. Ben Cornett. This is listen. Ben, you are always on time with these very thought provocative questions. And this is a very good point, right? He says, you think Caleb Williams will break that bad USC quarterback narrative? Honestly, man, his stock for me has dropped considerably, right? Like, I don't, is he talented? Yeah, I think he's talented. But his demeanor, man, and it's like all of a sudden, I think what happened was, when you win the Heisman and then you come back the next year, it usually doesn't ever really work out well for that particular individual. Think back, that's why there's only been one person to win the Heisman back to back, Archie Griffin, right, from Ohio State, many years ago. Because what happens is that when you win that Heisman, right, and then you come back, the expectation level is just so large that you can't it's like you're trying to erase your shadow and you can't outrun your shadow. It's a part of you, right? And so what happens, I think happens a couple of things that happen to Caleb Williams, right? And I digress, but this is a very good topic. Number one, he's trying to live up to the hype again, right? So some of these games, in particularly that Notre Dame game, you see him pressing. You see him pressing, trying to win the Heisman again on every throw, and it leads to mistakes, right? And then his demeanor, his behavior, right? His behavior was a little questionable last year, with the whole finger painting of the nails and F you, Utah, blah, 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 right? We got past that. Why? Because he won the Heisman, okay? And then, oh my God, USC and Lincoln Riley, and they're going to be crazy. He looks like Patrick Mahomes. And then it's kind of like, not saying he had a bad season, but in comparison to what a Heisman should be like, eh. And then you look at guys like Michael Penix Jr., right? Who I feel is one of the better quarterbacks this year. Jaden Daniels, the kid from LSU via California, right? He's from the California area, transferred from Arizona State. He should probably be a Heisman hopeful or contender, but no one's really talking about him because his team has 3 losses, right? So I think those guys are playing at a higher level. I think hopefully this might be a really good quarterback class. I hope so. I really do, because there's some teams out there that need really good quarterback play. So yeah, Caleb Williams, man, I think people, there might be some teams that are like, and I think I said this last week, they may not like his leadership ability, man. Like, he might be a nice guy, whatever the case may be, but some of the behavior he's kind of displayed here in the last couple of weeks or so, a lot of that too has to do with his coaching. I really believe so. So, in Lincoln Riley, although he's produced Kyler Murray, Baker Mayfield, now him, that's 3. 3 Heisman winners, and then Jalen Hurts was a finalist. So he's had 4 quarterbacks in the last 6, 7 years be a part of that Heisman conversation. I think maybe we might be anointing, or we have given Lincoln Riley a little bit too much credit at this point as a coach. But I don't know, man. When I watched that Washington and USC game a couple weeks ago, like Michael Penix Jr. was doing some stuff, man. But I think because overall he doesn't have the same name as Caleb Williams because he hasn't won a Heisman. But I would say his stock has definitely dropped, in my opinion. It has dropped a lot where people are he's not gonna go in the first round. Nah, I mean he might still go number one, right? There might be a team that still will take a chance on him. But I'm willing to say I'm not willing. I'm looking to see how his behavior, his mindset plays out in the National Football League because you know, after they lost to who was it they lost to, and he was crying Utah. Like, I'm not saying you can't cry, man, and but Jesus Christ, like you can't do that, man. But hey, good point, Ben. And to follow, Ben says, I honestly think Penix and McCarthy, depending on where they land, will have better careers than Kelly. Yeah, yeah, and we've seen it time and time again. I absolutely agree. Patrick says Lincoln Riley ruined Caleb's stock. It's a bad look, and his demeanor speaks volumes to the NFL scouts. Michael Penix Jr. is likely the safe pick. Yeah, yeah, because he looks more like a leader, right? Where you look at Caleb Williams, all the antics, and it's like, it's like a diva. Like it's just too much, man. Is the juice worth the squeeze in regards to Caleb Williams right now? Lincoln Riley will bolt USC eventually. He's better. He's a better Cliff Kingsbury. That's it. Yeah. 100% agree with that one, man. 100% agree. All right. Let's talk about some of these games. All right. So we got Tennessee on the road taking on Jacksonville. Listen, Jacksonville better win this game. You cannot get stomped out like they did last week, and then you come and lose to the Titans right now. So with the rookie quarterback, nah, ain't gonna happen. So I got Jacksonville to win this game. All right. Moving on. We got the Chargers and the Packers. This can be an intriguing one, right? Because listen, both coaches to me. Hold on one second. Hate to do this, but 1 second. The Packers, right? So here's the thing. Both coaches are lame ducks. Brandon Staley should be fired. Okay. You're a defensive coach and your defense sucks. Number one. Matt LaFleur, what have you done without Aaron Rodgers? We're really starting to see that this guy maybe can't even coach. He was a benefactor of Aaron Rodgers. So very interesting game. You got two coaches that are, I would say, in the hot seat, right? But I'll go with Green Bay just because they're home. No, I take that back. I'm going to go with the Chargers because they have a better offense at this point. Now, I mean, that's the only reason why. Jordan Love, not the dude. I thought the Packers were going to be a little bit more efficient by running the football. They just haven't been. But I'm going to take the Chargers to win this game on the road. All right. Washington Commanders take against the New York Giants. Will the Giants win another game this year? That's the question, right? Should they win another game? Should they be tanking now to get one of these quarterbacks? Because Daniel Jones ain't it, right? We've seen that, even though you've committed to him financially. But I'm gonna take the Commanders to win this game, just because the Giants are just depleted, man. They're just depleted. All right, moving on. We got the Raiders. Nice little fun story the last 2 weeks. Antonio Pierce, the interim coach, he's 2-0. But now they got to actually travel, go on the road to Miami. And we all know Miami is good at beating teams that are not playoff worthy. Okay. Now, although I think the Raiders are going to be playing inspired football, but I don't know if it'll be enough. This offense is just too potent, especially at home. I like the Dolphins to win this game and move on. All right. Arizona Cardinals going to Houston, taking on the Houston Texans. Great come from behind win last week, right? They're doing a little in the little locker room, right? With CJ Stroud. I like the Texans to win this game outright. Although Kyler Murray looked pretty decent last week against the Falcons, but hell, it's the Falcons. They suck, which I knew they would suck. Okay. And there was this guy on my social media. I remember these people, man. He was like, "Oh, you know what the hell you're talking about? The Falcons are legit." I'm like, bro, chill, right? Chill. All right. Anyway, but I got the Texans to win that game. All right. Clutch pick of the week. We got the Chicago Bears taking on the Detroit Lions in what people might be considering a trap game of some sorts. If I'm not mistaken, I believe Justin Fields is returning today. But still, nonetheless, listen, the Lions are a contending type team. The Bears, not so much. I'm going with the Lions to win this game. I know the last time I went with the Lions, they got their ass whooped by Baltimore. So Detroit, please do me a favor, because if you lose this game, I'm done. I'm never picking you guys for the rest of the year. I swear. I swear. I'll if I'm not messing around, Detroit. You guys better win this game. And I know the NFL is very, some of these games that I'm calling might go the other way, but this one, it has to be a lock. You got to take care of this team. In all seriousness. All right. We got the Browns on the road taking on Pittsburgh, and my another clutch pick of the week. Um, this one was close. So a lot of people, Browns were favorite, and then Deshaun Watson. But listen, Browns losing their quarterback. They're gonna have to start DTR or PJ Walker, whatever his name is. Pittsburgh, you better win this game too. Backup quarterback. Your defense is playing solid. Just don't turn the ball over, and you got a chance. And I feel bad for the Browns because they kind of were. They were doing something. They were on the move, but when you lose your quarterback for the year, man, it kind of just is like, I can't really trust you anymore. All right. But I got the Steelers to win in a close one. It's a divisional game. It'll be a close one. All right. Cowboys on the road in Charlotte, North Carolina, take on the Carolina Panthers. The Cowboys are heavily favored in this one, and they should win this game. They should dominate this game and get out of there and get ready for Thanksgiving this coming Thursday against the Washington Commanders. Mind you, I will be doing a show on Thanksgiving morning, so you guys want to make sure you tune in for that. We'll break down those games for Turkey Day. But anyway, I digress. Cowboys win that one. All right. Tampa Bay Buccaneers on the road against the Niners, who are back at 100%, almost, I would say. Niners get this win at home. They keep on rolling and get that dub. All right. LA Rams on the road in the Northwest taking on Seattle. This is always a fun little matchup, right? Both teams know each other very well, right? Same division. The players know each other. Seattle looking to try stay in contention in the NFC West. The Rams just trying to stay afloat, honestly, right? I mean, look, we don't really expect much from the Rams this season anymore. It was nice, the little Puka Nacua story, but kind of like, it's fizzled out a little bit. I like Seattle to win this game and move on and just kind of inch closer in that NFC West there. All right, New York Jets taking on the Buffalo Bills. This one is a weird one too. The Bills coming off of just a mind-blowing loss. Was it Monday night? Was it Monday night? Yeah, Monday night against Denver. Maybe Denver's figured it out, but the Buffalo Bills, maybe they're just not that good, to be honest with you, at the end of the day. So, but listen, the Jets cannot score. They just, it's like them. The Jets are allergic to the end zone. Like they get near it, they start acting crazy. They can't get in the end zone because they should have beat the Raiders. As many times they were in the red zone last week, Sunday night, should have beat the Raiders, but they can't. But and listen, a lot of people are mad or just like, oh, Zach Wilson sucks. I don't really think it's all him, man. I think the coaching just sucks. Like Zach Wilson does possess some type of talent, but the offensive coordinator is thinking that he has Aaron Rodgers out there, right? He's not playing to the strength of Zach Wilson, right? Zach Wilson is not Aaron Rodgers. I don't care if they sit in the same room and he's learning stuff through osmosis from Aaron Rodgers. It doesn't make him Aaron Rodgers, right? So Nathaniel Hackett, who didn't hack it as a head coach, didn't have Aaron Rodgers, he sucked there. Aaron Rodgers comes to New York, or he gets hired by New York, and then Aaron Rodgers come. Now we're like, okay, this should be a good fit. He gets hurt, and then like their offense still can't score, right? And they got weapons. But yeah, I think a lot of it has to do with coaching. A lot of people are blaming Zach Wilson for Robert Saleh possibly getting fired or being on the hot seat. It ain't all him, man. Like you got to tailor your game plan to your personnel, and I don't think the Jets are really doing that so well. So, but anyway, long story short, I got the Bills to win because at least the Buffalo Bills can score touchdowns, and the freaking Jets can't. All right, and then as for the primetime games tonight and tomorrow night, we got the Minnesota Vikings and Denver Broncos. A lot of people are probably like, I'm not gonna watch this game. I'm intrigued. I haven't really yet to sit down and watch Joshua Dobbs play like this year. At least I've watched him play last year. But this, actually, I take that back. I watched him play against the Cowboys this year when he was on Arizona. This guy's been on like 5 teams in 1 year. Like that's crazy to me, bro. But I like this game to watch. I'm going to take the Minnesota Vikings though. There's something about this team right now. They've won their last 5. Justin Jefferson is out. Obviously, Kirk Cousins out for the year. This team is like, do I feel like they have enough in the tank? No, but I like the story of Josh Dobbs, so I'm going to be rooting for him. And not to say I don't like Denver, but because I like Russell Wilson, he gets clowned a lot, but I'm gonna go with the Vikings to win this game tonight. So it'll be a good game. I get it. It's not a primetime marquee matchup. Like I think it would have been nice to see the Eagles and Chiefs tonight, but we're gonna get them tomorrow. So speaking of which, that's the next game. So Eagles and Chiefs, Eagles on the road in Kansas City, my final clutch pick of the week. This is another good test. Eagles coming off a bye. I think Andy Reid is he's got a really good record off of bye weeks. So I'm tripping. Well, yeah, but he was on a bye week too. Yeah, so both teams were off coming off bye. So his former team rematch of Super Bowl last year. The good thing for Chiefs is that they're at home. They're at home, but I like the Chiefs to win the game, man, because they just got that championship caliber. They know how to finish off these games, and so it'll be a close one though. I think this will be whoever has the ball last type of game. So there you go. All right, so recap of the clutch picks of the week. We got Detroit Lions. You better win that game. Seattle, better win that game. Pittsburgh, you better win that game. The Chiefs is kind of like, that's a tough one, man. That's a tough one. But listen, I bounced back. Weeks 3 and 4 really destroyed me. I was like 0-4 for those weeks, and it really put me back. But now I'm back at 500. I went 3-1 the last 2 weeks. I'm looking to maybe go undefeated this week, so we'll have to wait and see. But those are the clutch picks of the week. Love them, leave them, like them, whatever. There they are. But yeah, I try to pick some decent games, but it is what it is. But hey, that's why it's hard. You hear the music in the back, man. I got stuff to do. That means I gotta roll up out of here. But I appreciate you guys. Hey, so be on the lookout next week, Thursday. We're gonna do NFL Sunday Wake Up Thanksgiving Day edition. I got something fun planned for you guys. Like, who are you inviting to your Thanksgiving Day feast? Who's coming at your table, right? So think about that. I know who I'm inviting. I'm gonna show you guys who I'm talking about, and we're gonna break down all of the day's games from the Lions to Cowboys. I don't know who's the nightcap, but we'll break it all down. It'll be fun, a fun little morning show. So make sure you guys tune into that, and then follow up with next week's Sunday as well, as we talk more about Week 12 around the National Football League. So it is what it is. But hey, appreciate everyone that was in the comment section today. Patrick, man, appreciate you guys showing me some love as usual. It's always a good time. So that's all I got, man. Hope you guys enjoy the rest of your Sunday, and I love that you guys spend your first part of the day with me. Clutch Sports Talk NFL Sunday Wake Up with me, Ryan Flowers. Like I always say, never settle till the work is done. I'll see you guys Thursday. Peace.